Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever. Right on. Shotgun. DC right. Flip 90. Dig. On the center. On the center. Ready?
What the Rock is cooking.
You're listening to The Review on the OSG Podcasting Network.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to The Review. It's the OSG on CFB, college football talk, if you will, but not college football talk, the website, because that's a completely different brand. We are the online sports guys. We talk college football, and there is never an off season when it comes to a college football podcast now, is there?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Joining me today, OSG Nelson and Jay Wilkerson 16. John Nelson and John Wilkerson, respectively. We are the online sports guys. I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't mention why John was flashing the phone in the camera for those of you watching us on our YouTube channel at OSG Sports, by the way. Download the phone app. It's free. That's right. Free for both Google Android and for iTunes, Apple. It's all free. It gives you access to all of our content, all of our soccer content, all of our Canadian content, all of our lacrosse content, everything you could ever want on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. And we're afraid to ask, guys. The off season is in full swing, but we have plenty to talk about this week, and we're going to start with the exodus from LSU.
I've heard of this.
Defensive coordinator Dave Aranda, now the head coach at Baylor University. Offensive guru Joe Brady, now the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. What's this do to the Bayou Bengals, and how much is this going to sting come 2020?
Wilkie, I'm the pessimist. I'll let you go ahead.
You're the pessimist?
Yeah.
Well, Dave Aranda was going to get a head job somewhere.
Head coaching job.
Head coaching job somewhere, yes.
No.
And Baylor was a good fit for him. And to have a really good defense, they're waiting for him to coach. And obviously, offense will hand over to an offensive coordinator. But I think that was a move that we kind of expected in the next few years, that Dave Aranda was going to get a head coaching job somewhere. Joe Brady is the shiny new toy in football, and he's got an NFL background, and it was just a matter of time before he headed back to the National Football League. With Matt Rule heading over to the Carolina Panthers, it's a good fit for Joe Brady to get back in the National Football League as an offensive coordinator, and he'll probably be fast-tracked pretty soon to be a head coach in the NFL soon. But Brady's more of an NFL guy than a college guy.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. But Wilkie, let me ask you about Aranda real quick, and then Phil, you can get in on this. When it comes to Dave Aranda, was there any thought that he would continue the Brent Venables route and just be one of the best number twos in the country, continue to get paid $9 gazillion to be a fantastic number two? Or was this always a part of his dynamic? Because why would you want all these headaches of having to be a CEO when you're very good at what you do? I mean, Wilkie, that was my feeling as to why would Dave Aranda leave?
Well, he was being paid very well at LSU. You got a point there, but I think everybody, with the exception of Brent Venables, at one time wants to run his own program. And Baylor obviously was a good fit for Dave Aranda to do that. And so I it's hard to, again, he was being paid very well. He could be the number two with Ed Orgeron, but, and that's all great. And Brent Venables is kind of started that trend with really good coordinators. Why do you want to have to deal with the alums and the boosters and so forth, and recruiting's one thing, but go to the events, the alumni events
Dog
or
and
whatever,
pony
the dog and
shows.
pony shows and all those kind of things. But I just think every coach wants to run their own program and do it their own way, and this was his opportunity.
Yeah, and to backtrack or jump on board with what Wilkie was talking about, you have no way of knowing if you can run your own program until you try it. And at the end of the day, if you've got any aspirations to move forward in your career, you want to try it and see. It's not for everybody, like you said, John, but how do you know until you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way in professional life and really at any job. It's the only way to kind of get ahead and move forward and grow in your position. I think it's a great opportunity for Aranda. I think if Joe Brady ends up and has aspirations for being a head coach, he's going to find out what it's like to be a head coach. Maybe he's good at it. Maybe he's not. But
well, if the Panthers have any kind of great offensive year next year,
Oh yeah.
he is going to be on a short list of NFL head coaching candidates. I mean, he's going to be the hot, shiny new toy in the NFL, and he is going to be like Sean McVay, probably get a great head coaching job somewhere in the National Football League if the Panthers have the kind of year offensively that they expect. And and obviously he wants that opportunity as well. Didn't mean to interrupt your flow there, Phil. So go finish up.
Oh, no. I mean, you kind of hit on what I was talking about. The only way to get opportunity is to create opportunity for yourself, and really in any profession, not just college football. And that's what these guys are doing when they have success. So I think it's great for him. I think any college assistant coach who has aspirations to see what he can do probably wants to be a head coach. There are always exceptions. You brought up Brett Venables. The other one that I could think of right off the top of my head is Bud Foster, who just retired from Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Great defensive coordinator. Loved what he did. Loved where he did it. Didn't have aspirations to do more. All good. Everybody's got their own thing, and that made him happy. He was great at what he did and will be recognized as one of the greatest assistant coaches probably in college football history. But steering the conversation back to LSU, not only are they losing coaches, they're losing players.
Yeah. 38,000 players are leaving LSU this year.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, gone. Justin Jefferson, gone. Grant Delpit, gone. Who else? Patrick Queen, inside linebacker Patrick Queen, gone. Center Lloyd Cushenberry III, gone. I could go on and on and on. They lost at least 10 players this season. Does this help or hinder the growth of this program as a defending national champion? Is this something that could keep them from being a defending champ?
I would say yes to that. I don't think the drop-off will be that dramatic, simply because players want to play at LSU. And now I think the loss of Aranda and Joe Brady kind of hinder that the replenishment of talent. I think those two guys were key components of some of the talent they were able to get. But LSU is still going to get athletes. They're still going to get great players. I don't think if there's any kind of drop off, I don't think it's going to be that major. But because, they were a pretty deep team to begin with. And so these get
steps forward.
Right. This is who's the next man up.
Yeah, for me, I know that you're looking at everyone who's leaving. Thaddeus Moss, Randy Moss's son, recently declared as well. So I think all right, so let's see. Here's the list. There are 9 members, as we are talking, of the championship team to declare. CEH, 2 offensive linemen, Sadiq Charles and Cushenberry. Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. Kaylavon Chason, Patrick Queen, Jacob Phillips at linebacker. And Grant Delpit. So you're looking at 9 players right now that are not coming back.
Not to mention the seniors.
Yeah, and the seniors. So those have declared. You have seniors leaving. So I know, Wilkie, to your point about reload, and we know that that's where LSU is right now. I'm just not as confident in LSU as probably a lot of other folks are. I'm far more confident in Clemson making a return to the last game of the year because, among others, we know that Trevor Lawrence is stuck there for one more year. But, Wilkie, you have when you have a running back like Etienne sit there and say, I'm going to come back for one more year, and your offense is as stacked as it will be, I'm looking at Clemson in the last game of the year.
Well, now the offense, the defense doesn't lose much either. And they're a top-line defense. And, yeah, I mean, even when they lost LSU in the national title game, I knew that that Clemson team was poised to make another run to the national title game for 2021. Just look at the conference they play in. They probably have one really good non-conference game. I don't have the conference schedule in front of me. I'll look at it here in a minute. But, I mean, they will be in Charlotte in December of 2020, and they'll raise the trophy again, and they'll be in the playoff. I mean, it's as about as much as a guarantee as anything in sports right now on the collegiate level that Clemson will be in the playoff next year with all that talent coming back. Obviously, we can't anticipate injuries and so forth, or academic performance. Those are kind of variables that we can't really predict. But when you look at that roster, it's hard to say this team's not going to win or at least play for a national championship.
All right, Phil, here's the schedule for Clemson in 2020. Akron in Death Valley. Then you've got a couple weeks off. You're at Notre Dame.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, that should be fun to see.
And then that
Clemson will win
to
it,
be,
though.
yeah. So that's your only stumbling block I can see. Then you've got Citadel. You've got a week off. You've got South Carolina. Then you also have your schedule for the rest of the ACC. You're looking at BC in Chestnut Hill, Louisville, NC State, Syracuse, Virginia, at Florida State, at Wake Forest, at Georgia Tech. So that's
the only hiccup I could see, potential hiccup, would be Florida State, depending on how this team is reacting to their new head coach.
Yeah,
I mean that to me is because, you know, as well as I do, John, Florida State has talent. Yeah. But Mike Norvell might be a better fit for that, what personnel he has, than Willie Taggart was. I mean, that's kind of an X factor there. Florida State it's going to be in Tallahassee, and they're going to be up for that one at least. And that might be the lightning in the bottle game for Florida State. Just throwing it out there here in early January.
Okay.
10 months before the game is.
Right. So Clemson goes to Notre Dame, and this is on November 7th, according to TigerNet. So is
that a ridiculously early prediction?
Yeah, I think so. And the ACC is going to put out their schedule Wednesday.
Yep.
2020 schedules come out Wednesday. But we know about Akron. We know about the Citadel. We know about South Carolina on Thanksgiving weekend. And 3 weeks earlier, Clemson gets Notre Dame. But the rest of the schedule is going to come out Wednesday, and that's where we are with the ACC. The only one I really look at is that Notre Dame game as a possible stumble, Phil.
Oh, yeah, and you're talking brand names, too. I could already tell you before the season kicks off. Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, maybe
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Really, that's about 6 of maybe 8 teams that are going to be college football playoff contenders, because nobody else really, A, has the brand name cachet anymore, or B, is going to drum up any interest. And really, that's the only thing that with the playoff that really of any concern to anybody anymore.
And those are the teams with the top recruiting classes too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Money talks.
Strange how that plays.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Clemson, you guys know that Chase Bryce is portaling.
Yes, we know that.
But he's not the biggest name in there right now. Probably the biggest name in there right now is former University of Houston quarterback Derek King.
Yeah. So
Nobody saw that coming, did they?
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah. After stepping away from the University of Houston a couple of games into the season this year under Dana Holgorsen.
Yes, I will redshirt this year. Yes.
Of
I'm your
course.
starting
Whoa.
quarterback, but yes, I will redshirt this year.
You go ahead and redshirt. You look a little dinged up. I think for your own personal safety, you need to redshirt this year. Okay, Derek?
And it was funny to listen to, and I got to see if I can find the soundbite, listening to Dana Holgorsen talk about how it would be a better opportunity for King and a couple of other kids who did the same thing to step back and let what he thought would be a poorer performing Houston team play out the 2019 season, expecting that with more experience and better recruiting, 2020 would be a better year with all those guys coming back in. However, they're not coming back in. And then now the search for where Mr. King is going to relocate himself has begun. The rumors were circulating just 24 hours ago before we recorded this that he was all but certain to go to Miami. Now, maybe not. There's talk LSU, he could even play for LSU among others. LSU, we just got finished talking about, it's going to need somebody to line up under center and play quarterback this season.
Yeah, they're looking for one, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Are we now living in the age of the mercenary free agent quarterback?
Ask
Of
David
course,
Cohn.
yes. Yes, we are. It happened last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole transfer portal has been free agency for players, and it's been free agency for the quarterbacks.
Unless you need to do it because of an actual family hardship, then the NCAA won't allow you to do it.
I mean, the Pandora's box has been open. We have free agency in college sports, and now players have some power, and especially at the quarterback position. So we saw it last year. We're still going to see it more again this year. I think the trendsetter was Kelly Bryant at Clemson when he didn't get the starting gig over Trevor Lawrence, and he packed his bag and headed to Columbia, Missouri. And we know how that ended. And Tate Martell, but I think the more high profile one was Kelly Bryant because of the 4-game audition both guys had and how it ended. Guys, it's free agency for quarterbacks. We're going to see a lot more of this.
Yeah,
we're going to see big time quarterbacks when they at a lesser, I don't want to say lesser school, but I want to say at lesser school, have
another
some success,
school where they can get their self-perceived level of importance.
Yes, they can do that and then move on to a Power 5 upper echelon school where they can get a chance to A, impress NFL scouts, and B, perhaps win some kind of championship. It's just what's going to happen. And I can see it happening in other positions probably down the road, especially the wide receiver position. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Running backs, I'm not sure if it's going to happen.
I think skill position, I think you're right. I think that it goes quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I think in that order, that's what you're going to see.
Corners and defensive ends will probably be the next in the trends of portaling and free agency.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays. The NCAA talked a lot about how we're going to tighten up the rules, make them better, so this just doesn't happen random willy-nilly. And so far, that hasn't really happened.
Willy-nilly's portaling too, by the way.
It's
the cat's already out of the bag.
But you know what? It's never going to happen. I mean, they've opened this Pandora's box now. There's no way you can dial this back on the collegiate level, on the power, on the major college level.
No,
because it becomes a matter of that.
Right. I mean, we're on the cusp of big time changes, college football, that we don't have time to really talk about in this podcast. That's something we can talk about over the summer, right?
Yeah,
indeed. Guys, what do you say we wrap up the first block of the show?
Sure.
When we come back, we've got more changes to talk about, new faces in different places, all that and more when we return for the second block of the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
That's the bottom line. 'cause Stone Cold said so.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Go to our Twitter page at OSG Sports for a comment, rant, or just whatever's on your mind about college football.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
If you want to scale a mountain, buy boots. If you want to turn your crush into something more, say hi. At Country Financial, we know protecting the things you love and preparing for tomorrow start with simple steps. So we help you take small steps today with insurance and financial services that can have a big impact on your family's future.
For all your home, auto, and life insurance needs, call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Welcome back to the review. This is the B block, the second block, the follow-up to the beginning of the show, the part where we wrap things up. Guys, we would be remiss in our duty if we didn't mention the return of, let's just say, a small, slightly polarizing figure to the alma mater of one of our co-hosts here, Mr. John Wilkerson.
I'm deferring in this segment.
And that's,
no, I'm deferring to you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
That's the return of Bobby
Robert Petrino, Esquire.
He is now the new head coach at Missouri State.
What is
Go
your
Bears.
what is your administration
Bears.
thinking? I know what they're thinking, but what are they thinking? When the name's linked, and I know that you, Wilkie, have said that this is what happens when you're in the SEC of Division I AA. I know what you're thinking, but what are you thinking? When Art Briles and Bobby Petrino are the top two names that are tied to this opening, and you end up picking Bobby Petrino, what in the wide world of sports? I feel like Slim Pickens in Blazing Saddles. What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Even though I know the answer.
The university president, I'll defend my university here with Art Briles. It was quoted and said that Art Briles was never considered. He didn't know where that came from. They never had a conversation, much less talked about bringing Art Briles in. Bobby Petrino contacted, I believe it was the AD, yes, the AD of Missouri State, Kyle Motes, about the position. And it snowballed from there. And look, he's a brilliant offensive mind. I'll give you that. His last year at Louisville, reading more about that, his father passed away, and I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here that it just really affected him to the point where he just couldn't function, and we saw the end result at Louisville. But there were some other ancillary things at Louisville that kind of disturbed me, mainly with not really respecting the high school coaches in Kentucky and the Louisville area, and just can't get an in-state recruit. So there's those things. I had a Facebook post the other day talking about, how I live in Atlanta. He was the Falcons head coach. How did that end?
We all lived through that.
And then he went to Arkansas, which, as you all know, I bleed Razorback red. That's my home state. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And got him to the BCS bowl game. And how did that end? And then he goes back to Louisville. For years, I was a producer of the ACC All Access show. He was in my life then. I got to know him. Got to know him when he was at Arkansas, too. And how did that end? And now he's at my alma mater, Missouri State University, as the new head coach for the Bears. And I can't shake the guy. How is this going to end? I hope it ends well. I hope we get a few victories over North Dakota State. It might be worth it then. But look, the last time the Bears were in the playoffs in FCS was 1990, and I was in school then. That was 30
Wow.
years.
Wow.
And the last 10 years have been losing seasons. I think there were 1-10 this past season, the last season under Dave Steckel. I think that was a third in like 6 years. Football has just not been the emphasis at my alma mater for a while. However, maybe it's changed. And when you're bringing a guy like Bobby Petrino in, A, it's either going to upgrade your program, or B, it's going to upgrade his resume where he wants to get back into the FBS level or maybe in the Power 5 level. I think that's going to be difficult. But he's saying all the right things, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt now because can't get any worse.
No, and you actually make a very good point there. I mean, if Missouri State's been that bad for that long, why not? What really do you have to lose?
And you're in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, where the heavyweights of this level are there. South Dakota State and North Dakota State are two of the biggest heavyweights in FCS level. And there's some other really good football programs there too. Northern Iowa has had some really good years. Illinois State's had a few good years. It's a really solid FCS conference. It is the SEC of the FCS. And when you think about all those programs in the upper Midwest, I mean, you look at North Dakota State and South Dakota State, they're huge linemen. And they're NFL caliber linemen, and they have really good skill position. Carson Wentz came from North Dakota State. He's a quarterback of the Eagles now. And so there's really good talent there. What Missouri State can offer, if he can get into the southern part of the country, get some guys out of Tulsa and Memphis.
Arklatex, yeah.
Yeah, the Arklatex area, which, maybe get a kid or two from the St. Louis, Kansas City area. Get some skill positions with some speed, and that's what he likes. He likes those big, fast wide receivers. He likes those multifaceted quarterbacks, which Missouri State hadn't had, I guess, since DeAndre Smith was there when I was in school. They have a puncher's chance if they can do those things.
Yeah, and part of the recoil on him is because we've all had some sort of interaction with the guy. Maybe he's changed. I'm not holding my breath because he's kind of left
multiple locales in a lurch.
Let's just say people skills is not one of his strengths.
Yes, and that's putting it very, very mildly.
Yeah.
Nobody questions the coaching skill. He's had success. The guy has had success every single place he's been.
Well, his offensive play calling he's almost a savant at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is excellent at in-game situations and making the right call. And I'll give him this. I mean, he had Lamar Jackson, and he turned him into an NFL caliber quarterback. He's had some really good quarterbacks that have gone on to have at least a decent NFL career and a great college career. And just think of how many receivers he developed as well.
Yeah, I mean, really, for me, the only question is, how serious is he? I mean, seeing what happened to Louisville last season, it was very evident that there was a lack of interest in doing pretty much anything. And maybe it was attributed, like you said, to the passing of his father and some personal issues off the field. But at the very least, the flag is thrown. It's like, whoa, Petrino's back? Really?
And when you think of it, if he's going to come back, this is kind of the perfect situation for him. He's going to a program that's struggled for 30 years, a very apathetic fan base. Even when I was in school there, it was always an apathetic fan base toward football there. I haven't been on campus in a while. I remember the facilities not being that great, even at the FCS level. I know they've done some serious upgrades to the athletic department there. I am sure it is much better than it was when I was there. So I think if he's going to come back, this is a good situation for him to come back to. And really, he can just let it go. I mean, there's no pressure really on him to perform. I mean, if they can have a 4-7 season next year, that's progress. And the thing is, he's going to put people. He's already made news. He's already got Missouri State now out in the news, and they're going to get all sorts of media coverage now for the next 8 months leading up to the season because of who he is, where he is. So Missouri State's going to benefit from that. I'm sure it's going to put some more people in the stands at Plaster Stadium. I read a pretty good analogy as to Bobby Petrino, coming back to coaching in Missouri State. And the analogy was between him and Norman Dale, the coach from Hoosiers. Who, as you're watching the movie, an old friend gave him a chance to coach after an incident. So there's a little bit of a good analogy there between Bobby Petrino and Norman Dale, the character from the movie Hoosiers. So hopefully it ends up into a Missouri Valley title or at least a couple of wins over North Dakota State. We shall see.
The South Bend Central of the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Okay, guys. His salary, 5-year contract, and yes, it does have performance and incentive bonuses.
Yep.
Phil, what would you pay Bobby Petrino as a base salary at Missouri State, considering what they've been the last handful of years?
I'm guessing the going rate's probably $250, maybe $300.
Right on. $250,000 base with performance and incentive bonuses. Nicely done, sir.
Yeah.
He's also still getting paid by Louisville. And out of that fund, he's going to donate $70,000 a year to the assistant coaches pool. So that was not solicited by Kyle Motes. He was doing it on his own. So that's a good thing as well.
Yeah. And like Wilkie said, he's right in the respect that when you're a Missouri State and you've struggled for it to have anybody jump up and to anybody to even notice you, to be able to say any publicity is good publicity, yeah, that works.
Okay, so here's a list of the early commitments and where they're from. I'm just going to give you the states. I figured you were going to the closet to bust that out. 2 from Oklahoma, 1 from Texas, 1 from Naples, Florida, Naples High, Keller, Texas, Norman, Oklahoma, Denton, Texas, Eudora, Kansas, Columbia, South Carolina, Raytown, Missouri, Port Arthur, Muskogee, Oklahoma, Allen High in Allen, Texas, O'Fallon, Missouri, and then 6 more from the state of Missouri. So in the early class, you had 8 recruits from the state of Missouri with a couple from Oklahoma and Texas as well.
Yeah, the kids from Oklahoma, that's where you got to go, and down in Texas too. That's where they've had some of the support. And I just caught the tail end of the Missouri kids. Where are the Missouri kids from?
Missouri kids are from O'Fallon, Fort Zumwalt,
St. Louis area,
Raytown,
it's the Kansas City area,
Lee's Summit,
yeah,
St. Louis U High,
yep,
Imperial Seckman,
yep, St. Louis,
Springfield Parkview,
yep, know that well,
Kansas City Liberty North, and St. Charles de Smet.
Okay, well, that's pretty much where they're going to get their players from. Of course, Missouri State opens at Oklahoma.
Oh no! That's how you pay.
That's how the Bobby Petrino era opens, with a game over by kickoff against OU in Norman.
And that's how Bobby Petrino gets his salary paid.
And then
for year number 1,
the Grizz come in to Plaster Stadium to play the Bears. Kind of a homecoming for Petrino. He's a Montana native.
Yep, went to Carroll.
Yep, exactly. So, okay, starting out 0-2. Followed by South Dakota State and Vermilion.
3.
Youngstown State, at 4. North Dakota, at Indiana State, and then October 30th, the Bison come to Springfield.
So I'm looking at 1-6 when after the Bison come to town.
Tarleton State they play that one in Stevensville, Texas. Then Illinois State, and they close with the rivalry game against Northern Iowa. I think it's a rivalry game. We always had really good games with Northern Iowa. So
you're looking at Tarleton and you're looking at Indiana State as your 2 possible wins.
Yeah.
For the 2020
so
season.
2-9.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if Trophy Games and Rivalries want to go out to Missouri State to do one of the shows from there, just we'll figure that out in the schedule.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Speaking of new faces and new places, got one more to talk about here before we wrap things up on the review.
Yes.
Possibly a game-changing kind of offensive move for the University of Georgia Bulldogs as they hire former Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator Todd Monken to run things for Kirby Smart and maybe bring that offense into the modern era of college football.
Bite your tongue.
Good hire, bad hire, right move, wrong move?
I'm taking it. I'm all for it.
I mean,
it's not going to set my world on fire, Wilkie, but I'm for it.
There's a lot of grieving and complaining and griping and grumbling amongst the persnickety Georgia faithful that they were not equipped to play the fast-paced, high-octane, air raid style offenses that have been in vogue.
It's because Kirby Smart had it dialed up as 2009 Alabama. It's not meant to be high-powered. Ugh.
This probably will change that. As Monken is known for the guy who's opened up offenses pretty much everywhere he's ever been. And every team he's ever been the offensive coordinator for has put up some serious pointage. Wilkie, you like the hire?
I do, because they need to modernize that offense, and they've got the skill guys to do it. The offense from 10 years ago is so obsolete, as you mentioned. And I think that really affected them during most of the season. I mean, there's just no imagination there.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a leash will he have to do that? Who will Kirby have the power of objection?
The power of attorney.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got to do something to mix it up over there. They got to.
I like it. I like the hire. It's a good hire. Maybe enough to get Georgia where they want to be. Even with the loss of Jake Fromm, they've got Jamie Newman transferring into Wake Forest.
Yeah, and you need to have that kind of coach for Jamie Newman to be successful. I mean, if you don't, he's not a drop back guy. He wants to become one, and maybe they can coach him up to do that, but it's just not his skill set.
Well, and Monken's MO over the years and with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been bombs away. So considering that Newman was the second most accurate deep ball passer in college football this past season, I'd say we got some stuff to look out for from Athens this year. Guys, you got anything else you want to talk about here before we wrap it up on the review?
Well, how about Pete Guerrero from Monmouth?
Right on.
He almost 2,000 yards rushing last year for Monmouth as a junior. And he's decided that he's going to declare for the NFL draft after his junior year.
Uh-huh.
Now, the guy has over 4,000 yards and 39 touchdowns in 3 seasons. And you read a scouting report, he's got great hands out of the backfield. Do we see a guy that could be in the late rounds of the draft or maybe even a free agent if he doesn't? Because I'm reading his stats, and I just watched a little video of him too. This is a guy that would be perfect for Mike Vrabel's offense with the Titans and for Bill Belichick with the Patriots. I mean, he fits in that MO.
Yeah, I mean, Vrabel's got his guy in Derrick Henry. I don't think Henry's going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, why not?
Well, I mean, Derrick Henry's one thing. Guerrero's 5'10", 190, and can flat out fly. He's a track guy too. He looks like that kind of hybrid guy that Belichick and now Mike Vrabel like in those offenses that can get you some chunk yards. And, has great hands out of the backfield as an extra receiver for your quarterbacks.
Day 2. Keep an eye. Day 2, New England. That's what I'm thinking. Day 2.
In a lot of cases, that's where you get good running backs these days in professional football. There's not a plethora of them going in the first or second round, although this year should be a pretty good year for drafting running backs, more so wide receivers and quarterbacks. But We'll have to see how it goes. Guys, why don't we say we wrap it up here? A good episode this week, a little later. Don't forget, folks, you can find us on the interwebs. We have a phone app, and it's free. You can download it at the Google Play Store, and from the iTunes Store, just look up OSG Sports, and boom, 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 out go the lights, or boom goes dynamite.
All right, Pat Travers.
Whatever cliche you want to use there, we are there. We're on social media, of course. We'd love to hear from you. At OSG Sports on Facebook and Twitter. Rate the show, review the show. Let us know what you think about what we're doing or what we're at least trying to do. You can watch us on YouTube as well. If you see the video here, obviously you found us on YouTube. If you're on the podcast, we have a video version of the podcast as well. So many promotions, so many opportunities, and I would be derelict in my duty if I didn't mention SDH, our sister show here on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network, Soccer Down Here, where you can find out every and anything about the beautiful game that is soccer. SDH, Soccer Down Here, hosted by Brother John, Jason Longshore, and a host of characters. Make sure you find us in the same places you can find the review.
And how about, John, you and I talking about lacrosse on Outside the Box?
Outside the Box on the OSG Sports Radio Network and barnburner.ca. Wilkie and I go through the National Lacrosse League and let everybody know what's going on a weekly basis. It's the week that was, the week that will be. It was a busy week last week as we're going through. There was a major upset that took free lacrosse for it to happen. Wilkie and I will talk about that. Show will come out on Friday on the OSG Sports Network, and you'll get to find out what's going on in the minds of the Georgia Swarm. I think we're going to have our guests from places like Halifax and Buffalo and New England and Rochester and all points in between. So Wilkie and I are all OTBing as well, and we'll do that later on in the week as well. So you can find that here. You can find that in Canada on the Barn Burner app as well. But once again, on the apps is where you can find us.
Enough of the gratuitous public service announcements. Sorry, I forgot the lacrosse show. Guys, have a great week. We will do this again soon. And in the meantime, have a great week, everybody. We are gone. So long. Bye-bye.